Greetings, sailors, and we are back in UA Dreadnoughts. It's actually the same term as last time because we had a bunch of things that popped up, and I also learned some useful things from the comments, namely that the other nations and other campaign map areas are in the 1.05 beta. Of course, I'm still playing on 1.04, so yeah. One thing I really hope is improved in 1.05, because I've been finding this in both the campaign and the scenarios, is the pathfinding when you have a group of ships. It seems to be getting snarled up in a way that sometimes just makes things kind of unplayable, to be honest. You almost have to just have each ship in an individual group and then just command them all individually, and that's a bit too much micromanagement, especially if you have anything more than just a very small number of ships. And you also don't get to take advantage of the auto torp dodge feature, this button here. So hopefully that won't be an issue this time, because we just have three ships versus three ships. There's not groups of ships to get tangled up with each other, and so this should be a bit better. So we have our 7-inch gunned cruisers. This is just 3 heavy cruisers versus 3 heavy cruisers. They're using the protected cruiser hull, it looks like, and those are either 7 or 8-inch guns, I'm not sure. Or is it semi-armoured cruiser? I can't remember, but yeah, this is the miniature battleship hull, as it almost looks like, which is the sort of top-end heavy cruiser hull at the moment. Actually, I was going to show you, I designed a bunch of new ships as well, replacement ships, which are probably, for the most part, more expensive than the existing ones, but are also going to be hopefully much more survivable and just kind of generally capable. Let's go with AP, actually, because we're firing at some kind of broadside ships. We don't know what we're dealing with exactly in terms of do they have underwater torp tubes. I don't know that this hull can mount deck torpedo tubes, but they might have underwater torpedo tubes, and we will have to be careful about that. 1920 is when you're starting to get to the stage attack of things happening at longer and longer ranges, and especially torpedo ranges get a lot longer, because I think even up to 1910 you're looking at kind of 5-6 kilometers, so you can still get your ships relatively close to each other, but by the time you get to 1920s tech, it's kind of doubled pretty much. So you have to be a lot more careful about torpedoes, and suddenly large numbers of destroyers are a much bigger threat than they were in the previous eras. So we are landing a few hits, but nothing spectacular. Accuracy is also nothing to particularly write home about. We'll see what we can get away with. I don't know how this is going to work out if we end up needing to withdraw ships, just because these aren't especially fast heavy cruisers. Right, okay, there we go. Yes, they do have side-mounted underwater torps. Short range, 6.3 kilometers. That's not going to be a huge issue. Oh, they're actually 9-inch guns, so they have a larger caliber of gun than I do, so we have to be a bit careful about our angling. Also see who's 2.7. Still, that lead ship is the best chance to hit. Although is that per 2.8, 3. I don't know if it's just kind of averages across the group when it gives you that percentage chance in the tooltip. I guess it must do. Right, the Admiral Shear has already taken some engine damage, but none of those are red compartments, so that will we will be able to heal that, given enough time. Let us switch fire to the Blake. Oh, there we go. That is actually a higher chance. 8.4. They are more heavily armoured, but and they have bigger guns, but they're also slower, so we do have the manoeuvring advantage and also a rate of fire advantage with the 7-inch guns. I mean, in terms of pen, you can see that we can oh, hello. Let's take some avoiding manoeuvres there. Oh, that's awfully close. yeah, once you start getting to, especially trying to avoid things, sometimes the pathfinding gets really messed up. But it's worse when there's multiple groups of things and they start trying to meshing together, which is especially annoying with convoy defense missions, depending on where the game starts you relative to your transport ships, because sometimes it puts you, on the wrong side of your transport ships, as it were, and so you have to end up passing through them, and then you end up one ship having gotten through, and then the rest of your ships just kind of milling around in the middle of the transports in a rather useless position, at which point it becomes really difficult to actually extricate them. Right, we haven't landed any particular hits. Done a little bit of damage to that lead ship, a little bit of damage to that ship, but I don't know if we've provoked any floodings or kind of module damages yet. We could slow ourselves down a little bit, so we get a slight bump to our accuracy bonus. We can really only pan fore, aft and superstructure at this angle. I'm trying to keep my own ship relatively angled to theirs as well, but we do have... we actually lost a turret there, that's annoying. That barbette, by the way, surely there's a smaller barbette that could have gone there. The front barbette as well, and that's probably some weight that could have been saved. I don't know what the barbette armour is actually like. Does the barbette armour, is that counted as part of superstructure armour, or is that some kind of separate armour group? I don't actually know. Not making a lot of impact here. Maybe I should be going with... We'll see if auto puts it on high explosive. I think auto adjusts based on the angles of the enemy ship. Well, it's flooding, but nothing particularly crucial. Don't really want to overtake them here, especially. Because that will put us in range of torps. At the moment, I don't think they can launch torps at that angle. There's a limited angle on those hull-mounted torpedo launchers. Yeah, why are you so spaced out? I guess because they got a bit snarled up. Would that help? I don't know. We'll see if that helps. Going to tight formation. Oh! More torpedoes. That's the last of that rear ship's torps. Oh no, they have one more. They only launched one of their two side launchers. Right, they're avoiding actions even though the torpedoes are nowhere near them. I think the weirdness with the formations and such, like, I think that at least that's partly down to the avoid torpedoes command, because you end up like these ships are nowhere near torpedoes, but they're taking all kinds of evasive action anyway, which doesn't really make a lot of sense. I'm actually turning this around a bit so we can hopefully have these two catch up and not just have this one ship out in front on its own, because that's a bit of a pain. I wish we had some heavier firepower here. Neither side is especially managing to do lots of damage. I really would like to sink some of these ships. Having lost that battleship in the first episode was a pretty big victory points bonus for the enemy nation, for Britain. The one thing that we do have going for us is they're much more likely to run out of ammo than we will. We have more rounds than they do. You can do that as a viable strategy in some situations. You can stay at longer ranges, bait especially enemy battleships that might not have particularly high amount of ammo, You just wait around for them to fire off all their ammo at long ranges. Meanwhile, maybe even either putting your own guns on safe or even turning them off entirely, and then you can just close the distance. And at that point, you only really have torpedoes and secondary guns to worry about. It's the main battery guns, of course, that generally speaking are going to do the most of the damage. Right, if you caught up a little bit, you have. These rear ships in the formation aren't going to be particularly accurate. We're a little more accurate than this nearest ship here, but not by enough to make a huge difference overall. We can actually pause it just so we're not missing it. We can have the breakdown of our accuracy versus theirs overall. So triple turrets, triple barrels actually have a penalty to accuracy there, as you can see. Crew training is also a fairly hefty penalty, and then you've got things like the weather, the light conditions, and the relative manoeuvring and speed of the two ships. Now, it doesn't actually look that rough. I mean, it looks kind of overcast, but one of the things the game does not implement yet, and I don't think it even implements it in 1.05, is anything beyond slight variations in weather conditions. So it's got the kind of dimmer light going on, and there's a bit of haze in the distance, and it is cloudy, so it's representing that, and it's not particularly a harsh sea state either. So I think this fairly accurately represents the weather conditions. But you can also get just full-on storm conditions or fog conditions or whatever. There's quite a variety of weather conditions that just aren't visually represented yet. So it's usually worth at least checking at some point during a game what the weather penalties are. Although sometimes you get bonuses if it's a really nice clear day. It would be interesting to see what it looks like to have a battle in an outright storm, because you can technically have that at the moment, it just won't look like it. Hell, one of Game Labs' other titles, Naval Action, which I covered way back when it was still beta testing, before the open world stuff, when it was basically just PvP battles. When they introduced the storms, it looked pretty fantastic, but it wasn't that much fun to fight in. But of course, in the open world, you can try and avoid fighting in storms, but when it was just straight up PvP testing, you couldn't really. I never really stuck with that once it went into the open world, though. I really just liked sailing around and doing the battling when it came to open world and sail around and do trading and do crafting and etc, etc. I didn't really have the patience for it. If I want to play that sort of game, I've got a kind of a limited amount of mental space, as it were, for what games I'm going to put in the time for that require that level of dedication. And really, for me, it's pretty much just Elite Dangerous, which doesn't, well, I say it doesn't have all that much crafting. Actually, if you look at all the engineer stuff, that kind of counts. But yeah, I actually haven't played that recently either. I know they've been doing things like adding interiors to carriers and doing some other bits and bobs. But yeah, I every so often I just really get into Elite Dangerous and sink a bunch of time into that. But it's been a little while. I'm sure at some point I will again. And again, that's another thing I have covered on the channel, which some of my longer time viewers will recall, especially the most recent big update, which was the whole planetary exploration stuff, which added a fair few things to do. Although Elite Dangerous is not without its developer controversy at times. I think, did I remember correctly in that they officially dropped development for last gen consoles, or am I thinking of some other game that's done that? I honestly can't remember. I think that might have been Elite Dangerous. I know there's been some long-standing criticisms of various things from the community. Some of which, you know, is probably quite valid. It's been a really long time since any ships were introduced, for instance. Right, this ship, for some reason, is... I don't know why this one's practically running over this one. They seem to slow down at different rates. So now we're getting a bit snarled up again. At least they're closer together. Now, this is just a... I don't think anyone's going to land any decisive hits unless somebody gets a really lucky pen which sets off a flash fire. We're just trying to batter each other to death. But as long as I can avoid torpedoes, which are... that front one still has torps, but those two are now out of torps. Those are the things that are going to... You know, they have the most decisive punch, especially in terms of causing unrecoverable flooding, which then has a fairly big impact on your top speed and manoeuvrability, because, you know, your ship is suddenly lugging around water internally, which it wasn't really meant to. 85%, yeah, we haven't had any... Yeah, it's just... Should I just set it to high explosive only? We'll go for the World of Warships strategy, which you can do in this game. It's not particularly historical, I don't think. But you can literally just fire all of the high explosive and try and burn down enemy ships. And try and take them out that way. Hell, there's some of the scenarios I've done that with previously where I've built a battleship with lots and lots of small caliber guns and just fired high explosive only. And if they're accurate enough, it can work out. Just goes to, I don't know, reinforce that this is indeed a game. There are certainly things that work here that would not have worked or have ever been used as strategies in real life. Right, we're still not going to get any particularly good AP pens at this angle. Oh, that one's coming about. We'll try some angling again. Yeah, they're angling again. Let's go back to HE. I might end up fast forwarding this and sticking in some music or something, because man, this is taking a while. I thought this might be a slightly more decisive battle than this, but no, this is just spamming each other to death with high explosive very, very slowly. So yeah, unless something dramatic happens, let's do a little bit of fast forwarding and see if anything transpires. There was actually a question in the last video if ramming is a thing in the game, and well, you can see there, yes, friendly ramming doesn't seem to do much damage. Ramming between enemy ships, it causes a bit of damage, but it mostly seems to cause flooding. I've not had any catastrophic rams happen, but usually it's also been low speed rams. I've not tried to ram something into something else at high speed, which potentially, I guess, could do a lot more damage. That might require some experimentation, I don't know. So far though, yeah, nothing dramatic with rams, but it certainly is possible. Which I think in earlier versions of the game it wasn't. I think it took a little while before they added ramming as a thing. Anyway, there's another torpedo coming in. Hopefully the Russia is going to avoid that. That's fine. The formation's broken up a little bit, but yeah, nothing dramatic really. I just thought I'd point that out about ramming because yeah, somebody commented about it and then that reminded me. We might try actually. Let's see if we can get some AP shots. Can we do anything particularly effective at this range? See if AP works out against the Australia, given that they're currently a bit broadside. And now their armour does seem to be resisting that reasonably well. I don't know if we're using kind of lightweight 7-inch shells. Which obviously, well, not obviously. But they have less penetration, but I don't know why I said obviously. It's not necessarily going to be obvious if you haven't played the game. Although it would kind of make sense that you would figure lightweight shells would have less pen. Especially if you played World of Warships and you know that not all shells of all calibers are equal necessarily. Things like shell weight, muzzle velocity, etc. do have a big impact. Well, we're having a go at finishing off the Blake, but my own ships are actually now also starting to run low on ammo. I mean, everybody is, so we might end up only being able to sink one, maybe damage another. I don't think we'll get to sink more than one at this rate. We just had to spam so much HE at the Blake to get it down to this level of health that it seems unlikely this is going to be any kind of decisive victory. But if I can walk away with my ships and have at least taken out one of their ships, then that will still be a win in terms of victory points. So I'll take it, I guess. But yeah, that's the disadvantage of doing the HE spam strategy, is you need a lot of ammo. The Blake is currently quite on fire. I mean, if the whole thing just goes on fire, that is actually that can be a ship kill before structure or floatability go down to 0. I think that just basically represents you know, the entire crew's been wiped out by fire essentially, and they're already up to like 40% of the crew. That's a fairly catastrophic crew loss for this ship. This ship is not going to last too much longer, at least hopefully. Really hoping they don't score some kind of lucky point blank hit, but their own damage has imposed a fairly hefty accuracy penalty, so even though their point blank range is still only about 10% accuracy versus around 25 for my ships. Although, ooh, that's managed to yeah, in fact the Admiral Shear is now totally out of primary ammo. For some reason it's managed to fire off a lot more of its ammo than the others. It was a nasty hit, clearly. Some nasty structural damage and a bit of perma-flooding there, but the Blake is almost down. I might want to peel off the Admiral Shear and have it withdraw, I guess. Come on. 7%. 6%. What an absolutely bruising encounter this has been. If my ships had some torpedoes, that would be extremely useful at this stage of things. Because I could just have them come in a bit closer, pop in a few, you know, a torp or two against a basically stationary target, and that would be that. But because I didn't get to design these ships, no torpedoes. 6%, 5%. Death by 1,000 pew-pews. Pretty much. Yeah, it's not that badly damaged. It won't take that long to repair. That might be a month, 2 months repair time. We might just withdraw all our ships once we've finished off the Blake and call it a win, because yeah, very, very low on ammo. I mean, I know their ships are as well, but just to save a bit of time, I think that's what we'll do. If we can declare this a victory with one of mine sunk and one of theirs sunk and none of mine sunk, then I'll take it. Come on, 3%. 2%. So much fire. Going towards half the crew dead. I really hope at some point in the future they allow you to have ships that are in this state, and instead of them having to go down with literally all hands, for you to be able to force the crew to abandon ship, just, you know, to strike your colours, as it were, to surrender. Well, actually, surrendering and abandoning ship would be two separate things, wouldn't they? But to do either then, to either surrender the ship, which would be not preferable, or to abandon the ship and try and scuttle it in the process. Because if you abandon the ship, presumably, then your enemies could try and pick it up. 1%! This is absolutely just been a bludgeoning match. No decisive hits whatsoever. They've had a bit of flooding in the weaker bow and stern sections. But yeah, floatability still at 50%. Come on! 0.8%. It's just scrap metal at this point. There aren't even any fires going anymore. Somehow they've put them all out. Come on! Come on, you can do it! 0.7%. This is ridiculous. For goodness sake. I mean, there are some advantages to having the smaller caliber 7-inch guns, and for most of my ships I tend to go with a big enough gun caliber rather than I have to have the biggest gun caliber. But 7 is a little small for my tastes on a heavy cruiser. I don't know if I'd go 9 though. I think I would just stick with the standard 8-inch guns. 0.6%. You are really drawing this out, Blake. Would be nice. They keep running into each other, and again, it's fouling up the pathfinding. Short of putting the Cormoran into a separate group, there's not a lot I can do here, so I guess that's what I will do. Because this is a bit silly, to be honest. And you can't rearrange the lead ships within a group. I can't... Why is that? Why are you not going anywhere? I've set it to retreat. That's weird. Why is it stationary if it was in retreat? I don't know. But yeah, you can't swap around ships within a group so that one ship takes over the lead. It can happen automatically, as you've seen. If a ship takes too much damage, a healthier ship will take over the lead of that group. But sometimes you have things like this where the trailing ship will catch up, and at that point, yeah, you end up with things getting fouled up that you don't want to be fouled up. So it becomes a bit irritating at that stage. So that's definitely one of the more irritating aspects of the game. Something that I hope really does get fixed, because it definitely has an impact on the overall playability. Anyway, I'll just jump ahead to coming out of this game. We should have the thing flick up reasonably soon, and I can just exit out of the game and declare myself the winner, even though it wasn't any kind of decisive victory. It was still me coming out ahead and sinking one of their expensive heavy cruisers. So, 600 plus victory points. Not bad. One of our ships will need a little more repair than the others, though. What was it, Admiral? Yeah, 2 months. So that's fine. We're still a ways off building others. We also have this convoy. Is this convoy attack or convoy? Yeah, convoy attack. So actually in the attacking position there. Light cruiser and a destroyer versus 2 light cruisers, but it depends on the positioning. But yeah, I was going to show you the ship designs I came up with. So you already saw me designing a ship last time. So that would have been the Preußen, which is popping up things as red, but we now know that that's just the editor being a bit finicky. The ship itself will build fine. So you've seen this one be designed with its rather interesting aesthetics. The rest of the ones I've made are... Oh, you saw the destroyer being made as well. The rest of them I've made are a little more conventional. So I've made a... what was this? I've made a 15-inch 12-barrel battleship. 22 knots is fairly slow. I also, just for funsies, I don't know if I'll actually build any of them, I've made a 6-barrel 16-inch battleship, but that's even slower. That's only got 18 knots. I don't know if I'll actually build any of these, but designing things is free. It's not like Hearts of Iron where you're spending your precious naval XP to do this stuff. So that's a much more conventional design, although it's rather short. But yeah, 16-inch guns, and again 16-inch belts. Hopefully quite a survivable design overall. I've designed an 8-inch gunned cruiser with reasonable armour. Again, it's the kind of mini battleship hull. Again, pretty conventional looking. Nothing too special there. And there was something else as well. I think a light cruiser. Yes. So 6-inch gunned light cruiser with a slightly more centerline design, but we still have some single side turrets there as well. I mainly wanted the extra speed. This is 32 knots versus the 26.6. This one has more guns. You know, this one's more heavily armored, armed rather, but it's not. Well, it's a light cruiser. Does it even have? No, barely armoured at all. I think my other light cruiser is also not particularly armoured, but I basically wanted the extra speed. So it comes at the cost of firepower, but yeah, hopefully it will be a bit more flexible. And we have some torpedo armaments on this thing as well, so I'm hoping this will be overall a more useful design. We could actually set some of those to build, in fact. Although I'll check my finances first. We are currently a bit down on that. Maybe put crew training down to 40%. We might have to drop the tech budget a fair bit to like 40%. Yeah. So let's build, say, 2 of those, and let's build, should we say, like half a dozen light cruisers. What's that do to my finances? Oh, right, I'm back to minus 6 million per turn. We might need to stick that down a bit as well. How are we with crew training overall? Is not too bad. We trim that even further. I mean, I've got the impression with these campaigns the tech doesn't matter that much. I imagine in a longer campaign it absolutely would. But yeah. Right, minus 1.7 million just about. That's not too bad. Right, we want fleet and we want to be able to... where have we got space? So we just plonk it all in Wilhelmshaven. We could put the heavy cruisers in Bremen and then maybe the light cruisers all in Wilhelmshaven. So we'll put those in Bremen. I'll put all those in. And then do we want them to be... We'll leave those to in being, but we'll actually set all of these to sea control because these are all nice fast ships. It is going to obviously take a bite out of my crew pool, but yeah, I think we're all right overall. So, convoy. Let's do a bit of convoy raiding. Oh, no, I pressed the wrong button. I do that sometimes. I press the wrong button. I don't think it has any penalties if you do that. It just means the mission doesn't happen. Oops. Oh well. We can do a port strike though. Those can be quite valuable, and there's only a limited number of defenders, so let's go with that. Yeah, that's not the first time where I've accidentally gone to the next turn when I actually meant to initiate a mission. Right, before we do anything, let us sort out all these things. Shall we put that in the same group as the battleship? It's 3 light cruisers. And we'll set the destroyer to screen the low squadron. See, that's going to be annoying with the 2 light cruisers there and the other ones over there, because that's going to try and join them and it's going to kind of foul up the rest, but I don't think there's much I can do about that. So, enemy smoke spotted to the west, so we're kind of more or less headed in the right direction. We'll command the battle cruiser separately. That's rather slower, but we'll actually set that to a lower speed just now. We don't want to get that too far ahead of the rest. And the cruisers, we'll command them separately as well, because otherwise they're already trying to foul things up. Well, so for some reason it's put the Cologne as the lead one of that group, and I can't like click and go, no, I want, say, the Gazelle or the Karlsruhe to be the lead one of that group. So yeah, we're about to see some shenanigans, which is going to be kind of annoying. See, why are you going over there? You're trying to follow that one, and that one's trying to follow that one. And it's all just making a mess. Right, let's be a bit more cautious with the Rhineland. But it's not like this is any more thickly armoured, really. In fact, it's worse. Although I think the belt armour was about the same, if I remember correctly. It was like the conning tower that was much heavier. So what have we just spotted? That's one of their destroyers. So really we would like our screen to get out ahead, our light cruisers to get out ahead of that. We're going to have to be wary of torpedoes as well. The annoying thing when you're commanding larger groups of ships is you have to be much more vigilant with torpedoes generally. And yes, there is the torpedo avoidance thing, but we've seen that can be a bit of a double-edged sword. But we'll set that going anyway, because it can work. If they have sufficient room and time to maneuver, then they will successfully avoid torpedoes. So this has actually got, looks like a dozen torpedo broadsides. I'm taking a fair bit of fire at the moment. Ooh. Engine damage, flooding, fire, nice. I'll move towards them a little bit. I'll keep this guy going. Why are you going so slowly? Again, probably just the pathfinding. Getting itself all fouled up with this group. Yeah, there's the torpedoes. I thought there would be. Oh, there's my own destroyer's torps actually on the way. Don't think any of them will hit, but it's forcing that destroyer to maneuver. I'll put those on safe actually, because as I've intimated previously, it is possible to torpedo your own ships. It's not a good idea. They won't enjoy it. Wave of torps passing by, so we can actually, right, they only had one lot of torps, 19-inch torps, 6.1 kilometers, so fairly short range. And only 4-inch guns, so they're not super capable gunboats either. Well, that's not so much a worrying thing then. Be nice if I could get their transports also. Transports are worth a lot, but what I've found with missions, even when you've got, say, especially with the convoy raid missions and you've got maybe 1 or 2 escorting ships, sometimes you have to deliberately ignore the escorting ships to take out all the transports first, because the moment you take out all of the warships, generally the mission ends. In fact, it seems to be exclusively that the mission ends. And excuse my phone there. And that can be kind of annoying, because after having taken out the warships, why would you not then be free to go and kill all of the remaining now unguarded enemy transports? But no, the game won't let you do that, so that's also mildly annoying, because that's leaving victory points on the table that you could easily have. So yeah, I discovered that after the first time or two of being like, oh, I'll kill all the escorts. No, don't do that. Kill the transports, then kill the escorts. But in a case like this, I don't actually know where the escorts are, so I don't really... Why are you going so slowly? It's ridiculous. Okay, there's nothing in your way at this point. You should be going faster. Or is it just taking a really long time to accelerate? Because it's got 3 funnels. It should have some reasonable level of engine efficiency. I don't know what's going on there. Right, let's pay closer attention to this group, because this is now the closer... What was it? A cruiser and... Light cruiser and destroyer. And is this a semi-armoured hull? I'm not actually sure what hull that is. I mean, bearing in mind that the British hulls and the German hulls are not going to be identical. There is some national flavour involved. So this one has, again, the 6.1 combat. Are they using fast torque propulsion? There must be, for that -32 modifier, -32% modifier to the range there. But yeah, they only have those fore and aft twin turrets, and I think the rest are all like secondaries. Yeah, 4 and 3 inch, all these secondary turrets. Surely. Is that smoking up? Can actually have Argo smoke up as well, just because why not? Be nice if I had some hint where their transports might be, but you only get told the smoke sightings basically of the nearest enemy group. You don't. There might be multiple, enemies in multiple different locations, but you don't get reports of that. You only get told where the closest one is. And again, I hope that's something they change. Nice. Cruiser ain't going to last too much longer. They are flooding extensively. They've obviously taken some red hull damage. These sections don't look like they're pumping out at all. But that's at a stage where, like, another 2 sections of hull of these remaining 4 start flooding, and they're just going to flood out. Right, you've got torque thingamies all around. Let's just check everyone's positioning. Now that is flicking over there, so does that mean that there's enemy... I thought that was exclusively with radar towers that it gave you that periodic indicator. Maybe, I've been complaining about, it only tells you the nearest smoke group. Well, that actually might still be true, because this is the spotted ship, and that might be saying, well, there's an unspotted smoke group over there. So I think what I said is still valid. But somebody will tell me in the comments if I'm wrong. Again, this is taking a lot of punishment, but yeah, it's got 2 sections flooding. And it's slowly overwhelming their ability to pump it out. It's just going down and down and down, so they're about to sink. There she goes. Oh, and yeah, that would have been the transports then. But because we killed all the military ships, game over. Or match over. Battle over. One of those. Anyway, port strikes are very valuable though. 5,000 victory points. So that was yeah. We only got a little bit of a nice bump from killing those ships as well. But yeah. So we're not quite like. Would that have put me ahead? Actually, I don't know if that will show up till the next turn. I don't know. You can see some enemy ship movements here, by the way. I don't think you can do anything about that. I think that just indicates where ships are moving to. I don't think there's any way to say, I want a fleet from here to go and intercept this fleet. It can happen, but yeah. So we have a battle, CA versus CA, or we have a convoy. And this is a light cruiser, 2 destroyers versus... Okay, 12 transports. What we'll do, we'll actually have a convoy raid this time. We'll get in, try and kill a couple of transports, and then get out again. We're not going to try and kill their ships now. So we want to put those onto... In fact, we'll set those off. And... we'll set those off as well. I want to basically hold on to the torps until I'm exactly where I want to be with those. We should get in amongst the transports and have at least a couple of minutes of being able to hit the transports and potentially sink some, especially as these are all torpedo-armed ships. Now, is this... yes, these are all around, so that's fine. That's good. We don't have to angle some particular direction. We do have a fairly decent number of torpedoes on these as well. So there they are. So we can actually reduce speed a bit, so we get the accuracy bonus, and we'll just do a drive-by, I guess. We'll basically wait till we're point-blank range before we start dropping torpedoes on people. Transports do not have a lot of health. There might be some here that are armed. Generally, there are any. They have either 2 3 or 2 4-inch guns, but I'm not seeing any return fire. We are getting some fire already coming in from that direction though, so let's set you to drop some torpedoes, which should spread nicely through there. And the destroyers do have smoke available, and you can... let's then set you there. Nice. Yes, all of the torpedo hits. So we can then have this group... I mean, they're going to be a while getting their torpedoes back, so we'll actually go and use them to spot and maybe distract the... yeah, all the torpedoes doing good work there. Spot and distract these incoming ships. So we can also have them smoke, and they're reasonably fast, so I think we can also just have them then get away if need be. And then you can... now everyone's got smoke, everyone's reasonably speedy, so... ooh. Avoid the torpedoes. Slow the speed down a bit slightly. Right, I think you fired a front torp, have you? Oh yeah, it did, but it missed. Let's have you turn basically all the way around. That one's taken a torp. We'll start pulling these back soon. This is basically just doing as much damage as I can. Torpedo hit, nice. That's about to go down. We've gotten most of them. There's 2, 3 left. That one we can sink pretty soon. These 3 over here might be trickier. Let's take that back to off. Is that a torpedo from the... I think so. Is that their heavy cruiser? I mean, it'd be nice if I could kill the heavy cruiser. I think using these ships just as distraction rather than going after the remaining transports with them is probably the better plan, because destroyers are small and hard to hit. There are like size matters in that bigger targets obviously are easier to aim at. Well, that's still fairly high health, but transports don't exactly have a lot of armour. So that's fine. Set our torpedoes to target that guy. What are you doing back there? Dunno. Probably taking avoiding action for torpedoes that are a million miles away from it, because that's what the game does at the moment. If I could get all the transports, that would be amazing. That would be, I think, worth several thousand victory points. Like, maybe up to 2k? Would it even be that much? I can't remember. But for a group of 12, it might be that much, yeah. Don't think this is going to last too much longer. If I could inflict some torque damage on this this heavy cruiser, that would just be a bonus. Be nice to get some of the newer destroyers built as well at some point, just because they are faster. I think I made them... It was above 30 knots, I can't remember offhand. Right, we'll actually get the light cruiser going a bit faster again. They've got plenty of torps. Oh! One of our DDs took a hit, but that's fine. You put any torpedoes out? Yep, there's their torps getting launched just there. Actually, the other guy that's now taken over the lead group. He's all the way back here. You're not going to do much, are you? Or maybe just set that group to retreat generally. And they get smoke in a few minutes as well. I mean, we might lose this one destroyer, but that would be a pretty inconsequential loss compared to having gotten these transports. Here we go, that's almost done. There's actually 3 of them left. Right, let's have you smoke up. They're all wasting their ammo and their attention on these destroyers. All the while my light cruiser is just busy nomming on this remaining group of transports. They're not bad light cruisers, these. I mean, they certainly have... I mean, for a light cruiser, that is quite a lot of 6-inch guns. They're just festooned with 6-inch guns. Which for this kind of convoy raiding is quite useful. But it also means that if one of these has a flash fire, it's going to be utterly catastrophic. Just because they're all packed in together so densely. Let's set the torp target on that transport and see if we can't get the bow tube to shoot at it. How are you doing? They've repaired the engine, they've repaired the flooding. Slight bit of damage overall, but yeah. And did we manage a torp hit on the Australia? I think we might have done. Yes, we did. Excellent. So that's worth some victory points as well. Not obviously nearly as good as sinking it outright, but I'll take it. That's almost sunk. I really wasn't thinking I'd get away with sinking all of these transports, but we just might. There we go. Actually speed this back up. He's got a little bit of flooding going on, which will slow things down a little, but actually turn that off. That should hopefully stop them doing quite so much nonsense manoeuvring. The cruiser's now turning his attention on the cruiser, but we have smoke ready, so that's fine. Smoke is a double-edged sword. It affects your own accuracy as well as enemy accuracy. When we're this close, with this many guns, less than 10% accuracy, that's actually not bad. Just the sheer number of barrels means we're going to hit something. Once we've sunk this last one, we'll just have this set to retreat, peel away, and withdraw to the point where the battle's over. We're not even going to attempt to take out their warships. That'll give that some dock repair time, but that's a minor penalty at best. I mean, I could try and rush it in, but that would be a bit awkward. So yeah, there we go. 100% enemy transport's done, and if we just go retreat, it will automatically head away at top speed. Bob's your uncle. Now, on the score screen, that's only showing 400 victory points, but yeah, once we get onto the world screen, it will show... Oh. Okay, was that really all? For a dozen transports? I don't know, in previous engagements, that feels like it would have been worth a lot more. I don't know, apparently that wasn't worth that much. Huh, okay. I don't know why that is. Lastly on this turn, heavy cruiser versus heavy cruiser. We don't have any torps for a knockout blow, so I guess we'll see how this goes. Southwest. Sort of heading vaguely in the right direction anyway. It's not too hard to dodge the torps from the enemy cruisers. Yes, hello Sam. He was outside, he's now inside, so there may be some cat noises. Which obviously is a tremendous hardship for everybody having to hear Sam be all mouthy. Hello Sam. Do you have opinions? And you've come inside to share your opinions with me. Yes, that's what I thought. Yeah. Starving to death, you say, Samuel? Yeah, that's terrible. It's a very common affliction for cats, sadly. Just to be in a state of, oh, hello, Sam, permanent starvation. Yes. Oh, Sam. You come to see what I'm doing? Or... more accurately, have you come to let me know that whatever I'm doing is not as important as paying attention to you? That's what I thought, yes. Right, so I don't know how we're going to fare in a one-on-one engagement. In a 3 versus 3, we did seem to have the upper hand, I think just through the extra rate of fire, and there wasn't enough of an armour difference between the two for their bigger guns to have any kind of decisive advantage. So this might be just a case of kind of more of the same. So I think I'll do what I did last time and just jump forward a bit and step in if anything interesting happens. Like that. I wasn't paying attention. They just came in. I was just, you know, oh yeah, torpedoes. They'll be easy to dodge. No, we ran right into two of them because I was on ×5 speeds. I really didn't have time to react there at the trails coming in. So, whoops. Yeah, I kind of wish that there was some setting for even just an individual ship to take automatic avoiding action for torpedoes, because you're going at a faster speed to try and speed things up a bit, or you have lots of different individual groups of single ships. It can be a real royal pain to try and to dodge torpedoes. Sometimes you just don't have a chance to. So yeah, that bow section is currently semi-perma-flooded. Any more flooding in those sections, or any fresh flooding, will completely fill them up and slow us down even more. So that's a pain in the butt. Right, so basically that was taking absolutely forever and a day, so I just decided to withdraw. It seemed like the sensible thing to do, although it still took forever. So, yeah, that one wasn't really particularly decisive either way, but then there were a lot of naval engagements like that. Anyway, let's click next turn and see if there's anything. Another convoy raid? Oh, versus a battle cruiser, though. I think we'll do that next time. I have been recording for a little bit, and there is a bit to cut out, but I should still have about an hour's worth to do an episode with, so yeah, that seems like a good place to end it. We're only a couple of months in, but yeah, things are definitely moving, and oh, we're back in the positive as well. That's useful. Might build set some more ships constructing next time as well. So hopefully you've enjoyed this, and if you have, you can do all the usual things down underneath the video, and of course, as always, stay tuned for more.